If you want to see how a production company manages their internal content team, then this is the video for you. If you're watching this, you most likely own some type of business that's creating content already. If you aren't creating content yet, I'd suggest to go watch some of the other videos or some of the other workshops or some of the other resources that we have. But in this case, you already have a podcast, or you already have video content, or you're already making YouTube videos, or you're very close to starting, and you want a way to organize that between all of the different people working on the project. So in this case, we use a client portal, and that is exactly what you're seeing right here. This client portal organizes all of our clients' information, data, and then ultimately resources, files, right? That's why we don't use Google Drive. When it comes to content, internal or external, Google Drive is not the enemy, but it is the enemy of organization and structure. And we found that to be true, so we went with Service Provider Pro in this case, and we've been using them for years. I actually just wrote them a 5-star review, and I love their style because it makes it so easy to organize everything. This is not a pitch. This is not an ad. I am not getting paid to say that. This is just what we use. There are a plethora of other ways to do it. You can use Drive, you can use Notion. This is just how we do it. That is not the value of this. The value is what I'm about to show you right now. So before the end of this video, you're going to see, okay, how do I frame all of the information so that when either myself as the CEO or the marketer or whoever is in charge of the content, even the social media manager, how do I then distribute that to my team? By the end of this video, that's exactly what you're going to see. So let's get started with the form. So what I do on the back end here, and you can go ahead and do this, with any type of document. You could do it in Google Docs if you want, but I use Service Provider Pro. And what I do is I create a submission form. So you can use Google Forms, you can use Notion, you can use Docs, you can use whatever you want. This just automates that process. So the first thing I'm going to do, because what you have to do is balance you're balancing talent to time ratio here. So what am I actually contributing towards versus what is my team contributing towards, and what are the decisions you as the founder or the CEO or the marketer or the podcaster need to make versus the decisions you're allowing your team to make. First and foremost, the episode title. I am going to make that. In this case, I'm probably going to write down 2 or 3 different titles, and I can show you an example of that. Moving on from there, I'm going to let the team know when this episode is being released. That's very important. And from there, who is editing this, right? So this is my team. I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, this might be how a production company manages their podcast. Then I would choose the release date. Then I would say, okay, we got audio, video, clips, or maybe it's all of them. Okay, let's do all of them. Audio, video, show notes, clips, and thumbnails. What type of episode is this? This would be solo. We'd have Jack on show notes, Ivan on audio. Let's say Max on video, Max on thumbnails. Okay, great. This is where it gets a little bit tricky. This is where you need some help. So you may have an audio version and a video version. There are going to be 3 to 5 separate versions of this video that you're consuming right now. You may be consuming this video in our group coaching group, the Launchpad. You may be consuming this video on YouTube. You may be consuming a clip of this video on LinkedIn right now. This video is going to be different depending on where you're consuming that video. So in this case, we may need a different intro for the video version or a different outro for the audio version, etc. So these are things that I'm going to denote and jot down in my form. I'm also going to give you this exact form in a document version accompanied with this video as a resource. And then also, just as a quick plug, if you're not watching this in the Launchpad group coaching, make sure to let me know in the comments if you want more information on that. And that is going to have a 1-hour workshop on how to do this. Okay, back to regularly scheduled programming. So moving on from there, we have audio for the video editor. That's different than the main audio because the video editor needs better audio, mixed audio. Not all video editors are audio editors. Moving on from there, we have each of these different file types. Finally, we have the main audio, we have the guest audio, we have the podcast video intro, we have the different angles. Right now, there's 3 cameras going on at once, right? On the Launchpad, they're getting the Loom video version, which is going to be extended. On the YouTube version, they're getting the video version. On the audio version, they're getting the audio version. And so these are all these different file types and all these 3 different cameras that are going on here. So that's something that I'm going to denote. I'm going to be able to upload the individual file for each camera. Moving on from there, I might have some extra files. I may have a resource, right? I may have this exact, I may have this form typed out as a resource, and I can go ahead and jot it there. Then from there, I'm going to have my notes for editing. So what am I going to let my editors know? I might say, hey, a few of the files are really big. Here's the Google Drive folder, or here's the photos I would like included of the guest, right, etc. Then I have show notes and guest information. So Jack writes all of our show notes. That's where I'll keep that here. Shout out to him. Shout out to the team. Moving on. This is an important piece that most people don't talk about. I've never even talked about this, which is the different variations of your thumbnails. Again, this video or podcast or episode, whatever you want to call it, show, is marketing, right? This is not just internal. In this case, it's not just internal. It's not just for a group coachees. It's also marketing material for us. And this is going to be made into a YouTube video. So with that being said, I stratify the information for the YouTube thumbnail. So when I go ahead and do that, I may say, okay, the title is how a production company manages their podcast. But I may say, save 5 hours. Maybe I've calculated how many hours this, document saves. By the way, it saves like 10 hours. Okay, so that may be, me like smiling on the side like this, and then boom, save 5 hours, just like our other thumbnails. Then the other variation might say, this system saves time. Let's say 5 hours saved. Okay, and that might just be the variations, right? Then I'll have a link to the thumbnail photos. So after I record this official episode, I'm gonna actually pose for my thumbnails. Then in post, I'm gonna go grab screenshots. So I'll show you. So like say like this, right? Or like if I was going to this camera, I'd be like, and then that would be text. This would be my face, right? It's that easy. And so I would go ahead and include those thumbnails there. And then finally, we got the examples. This is huge, okay? This is big because you need for your thumbnail designer, which we have thumbnail designers, not designers, thumbnail designers. Every single one of our designers has a different job. They just do what they do best, right? So by the way, if you're like trying to get your web designer to do thumbnails, maybe that's not the wave anymore. And then finally, I'm going to review everything, and then I'm going to submit it. And now I will also show you what a final order looks like, so we can go ahead and take a look at that. So say for this, in this example, this is what an actual episode would look like. You have 1 hour of podcast growth secrets. We interviewed the #1 podcast SEO company and podcast growth secrets masterclass. So that's 1, 2, and 3 different variations of the title. I'm going to go ahead and look at my views for that day, and then I'm going to go and change the thumbnail or the title depending on how that video is performing. That's why I have multiple titles here. Moving on, that's also why I have multiple thumbnails. So thumbnail number 1, thumbnail number 2. That's what you need to do, right? But if you do want multiple versions of the thumbnails, if you do have 5 or 6 people working on one of your podcast episodes, YouTube videos, or any of your content, that's why you need to have a system like this to make sure to guarantee that every single person knows what their job is, when it is, and then when they need to get it back to you. And so this is a very in-depth example of what we do internally at Podcast Principles for a submission. You're probably a business owner. You're probably making content. You may be a marketer within a business. Either way, you need to find ways to more so organize and manage these projects across all of your freelancers. We know that editing and post-production has been democratized. And what that means is that anybody in the world can do it almost for any price, right? So if that is the case, then there could be a solid argument for freelancers that you then elevate and turn them into employees. And that's actually our philosophy, right? So we'll bring them in at a lower capacity, work them up, and then employ them. And that's just currently what's working for us. And that's what we're helping our clients do. So if that is you, if you are somebody that says, okay, I get it. I already believe in organic content, right? So you don't need to sell me on that, but I need a way to organize it, whether it's a current team you have or to build out your in-house team because you're scaling and growing and you have a successful business. Then we would love to help you with that. This is somewhat, generic / specific to us. So if you want a custom game plan for your business, we always have the link down below in the description or show notes of these videos, so you can go grab time with me and we can go ahead and get started on that custom strategy for you to organize your podcast post-production across multiple teams, multiple people, and make your life that much easier. So thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Ryan Sullivan from Podcast Principles, and I will catch you on the next video. Before we get out of here, make sure you watch either one of these because you made it to the end. I appreciate you. Peace.